Cao Ya, don't rely on heaven, don't rely on earth, only on myself. Cao Ya didn't cheat. Facing the sky full of gods and Buddhas, Cao Ya said without changing his face or heart. A large number of likes from various worlds such as martial arts, fantasy, immortal and chivalrous, urban, and anime have all been received by Cao Yaqi. Keywords of the novel. I have 100 clones without pop-ups, I have 100 clones. Download the complete collection of TXT, and I have 100 clones to read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. We are all Cao Ya, and we all have a bright future. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. We are all Cao Ya, and we all have a bright future. De Jin, Shaolin Temple. Xianbei Jr. Brother, only observing in the dark, don't you go and take a look. Cao Ya drifted through the forest, stood in the shadow, and whispered to the handsome but melancholic yellow-clothed monk beside him. In the forest, on the cobblestone road, several small monks carry water, and occasionally there are gray-robed monks supervising. The mournful gaze of the yellow-robed monk always fell on a 12 or 13-year-old monk with eyes like ink, eyebrows like distant mountains, and powder-carved jade carving. The expression is quite complex. There is nostalgia, sadness, and love. It's not yet time to polish one's true character in the miscellaneous service yard. Xianbei's voice was low but not deep. Cao Ya smiled, calm on the face, but with a cold heart. Truly, it must be Meng Qi, the protagonist of the One World Lord. His entry into Shaolin Temple signifies the official start of the plot of the One World Lord. Alas, I have traveled to this world for 40.8 years and have become the #1 figure in Shaolin Temple. Among the Xuanzi generation, my strength is second only to that of the half-monk Xianbei Jr. Brother. It may be said that I am not weak, and there is also a slight reputation in the martial arts world, but in fact, it is the 7 heavens in the outer scene. Decades later, the plot of One World Sovereign went viral, and by then, not to mention the outdoor scenes, the Dharma body would be like ants. At the thought, Cao Ya frowned. He is a traveler. Traveling from Earth to the realm of the One World, when he was still a baby, there was a famine in his hometown, and his loved ones died. He was in the arms of his mother, and when he was about to die, he was fortunately saved by a Shaolin monk passing by. Then I grew up at Shaolin Temple, practicing martial arts and having decent talent. And Cao Ya soon found out that this was the world of the One World Sovereign. The big shots on the other side ravaged the timeline recklessly, causing chaos and destroying the universe. He thought he, like Meng Qi, was also the earth that crossed over from the One World Sovereign, and was the fish and road sign of a certain leader. Later, the appearance of a space made him suddenly realize that his guess was wrong. The clone system space. When I first traveled, not only did I travel through the One World Sovereign, but I also traveled through multiple worlds at the same time, including the Heavenly Dragon Babu, Laughing Proud Jianghu, Detective Conan, Divine Eagle Heroes, and Mysterious Resurrection. This is a world that has already appeared. 6 of me appeared in that system space, and at first I was startled. Tonight, I wonder if there will be any newcomers appearing. Well, I hope it's a world with a high power level like Mysterious Resurrection. Now the plot of One World Sovereign is about to explode, and the 7 heavens on the outside. I feel so insecure. Cao Ya sighed in his heart. The protagonist appears and the plot begins. Soon, the world's PowerPoints will explode, and the location is not as good as a dog. The Dharma body is everywhere, and legends can shake it. The worldview of the One World is elevated in the real world, and in ancient times it was also known as the Fairyland. Beyond the real world, billions of cosmic interfaces are born and gone, and nature gives birth to the legendary powers of others and me. That kind of realm, Cao Ya couldn't even look up and see his figure. To cultivate a road, starting from building a foundation for 100 days, one should accumulate qi and forge one's body, open the 9 orifices together, and achieve great success in the inner world. True qi can be released externally. After the 9 orifices, one cultivates the ancestral orifices of the eyebrow and heart, achieving a state of harmony between heaven and humanity through the interaction between heaven and humanity. As for returning to simplicity, it is a realm that only a few geniuses can cultivate. However, these are nothing at all. At most, they are third-rate experts, and only half a step outside is a second-rate expert. Externally, Jichangshan is a top-notch expert, while 4.3 Chongtian is a top-notch expert and also a master of the first heavenly ladder. The 7th, 8th, and 9th heavens are the second ladder, collectively known as the Grand Master. On the third day, the ladder vaguely transcends the external realm, hence it is also known as the half-step Dharma body, or Great Master. Above the half-step Dharma body, naturally it is the true Dharma body realm. Cao Ya is the 7 heavens in the outer scene, and can be called the Grand Master. The Xianbei beside him is even more powerful, the 8 heavens on the outside, the first person in the Shaolin Xuanzi generation. Cao Ya can only be considered the second person. The Dharma body can be divided into human immortals, earth immortals, and heavenly immortals. Above the heavenly immortal is the legend, and in a super world like the one-world sovereign, one can call themselves a great power. But let alone legends, even the Dharma body Cao Ya can only look up to. Jin Yong's martial arts are low martial arts and do not involve outdoor scenes. Detective Conan's personal strength is not as good as that of Jin Yong's martial arts, and I cannot create various technological weapons here. Only, mysterious resurrection. But this world is too special. Mysterious resurrection. There is no path for cultivation, and various evil spirits ravage the planet. Moreover, those evil spirits have almost no wisdom, and except for a few, the vast majority act according to rules without any resentment or evil energy. It's more of a product of rules than a fierce ghost. To become a demon tamer, one must control the fierce ghost. The fierce ghost erodes the human body, and normally, it cannot survive for long. Even if the fierce ghost crashes, there is still a risk of recovery. That's a hopeless world. If we could master the rules represented by those fierce ghosts. Cao Ya shook his head secretly, thinking only about the mysterious revival of the world. The fierce ghost is a product of rules, and he has no confidence in resisting its erosion. In the short term, it may not be a problem for decades, but what about 100 years from now? You should know that even the most top-notch ghost tamers cannot stop the arrival of death. Let's focus on cultivating the one-world sovereign system. Set a small goal first and achieve the Dharma body. After looking at Xianbei, he realized that he was halfway to becoming a monk, so even though he was stronger and older, Xianbei was still Cao Ya's junior brother. Cao Ya's Dharma name is called Xuanjie. The roots are sprouting red. Cao Ya knows why Xianbei is paying attention to the protagonist Meng Qi, Shinding, in One World Sovereign. Meng Qi was a name before his time traveling, and in the real world, his secular name was Su Ziyuan. He was the only son of Xianbei's secular sister, but due to internal conflicts within the Su family, he was sent to Shaolin Temple. However, Meng Qi did not inherit Su Ziyuan's memory, so he is not clear about these. Not many people know this secret. Cao Ya is familiar with the plot and has a good relationship with Xianbei. He was also present when Xianbei shaved his head, so he fully understood it. After secretly paying attention for a while, Xianbei left. Cao Ya also drifted away. At this point, Meng Qi doesn't need to pay too much attention. Night. Inside the meditation room. Cao Ya meditated, looking like he was practicing hard, but his actual mind had already drifted into the system space. This is a gloomy space, boundless, with several figures emerging. They look exactly the same, but their clothes are different and their temperament is slightly different. Some are silent, some are domineering, some are cold, and some emit a lazy aura. Cao Ya looked around and his eyes lit up. Oh, there's a newcomer. Share your memories quickly. The lazy Cao Ya seemed to be interested. In the system space, there are 8 Cao Ya, 6 are elderly, and 2 are new. Those 2 newcomers are naturally Cao Ya, but their costumes are also different. A gentle and refined person, like a teacher. The other is silent and cold, with a temperament of not getting close to strangers. The 2 are exactly opposite. When this place appeared here, the system space told you everything. Can you understand? My understanding ability is not bad. Cao Ya said with his hands clasped together. The domineering and majestic Cao Ya rolled his eyes and said, "Are you feeling dizzy as a monk? I am Cao Ya, the divine eagle heroes. They are Cao Ya, the laughing and proud Jianghu, Cao Ya, the heavenly dragon 8 tribes, Cao Ya, the mysterious resurrection, and Cao Ya, the detective Conan. And that bald man is Cao Ya, the one-world sovereign, who is currently the worst among us." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Each story you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Each story, low key, low key. Cao Ya chuckled, one world sovereign. The 2 newcomers quickly adapted to this situation. After all, they were both travelers in Cao Ya. It's just a slight deviation during the journey. Cao Ya, with a teacher-like demeanor, rubbed his palm and said excitedly, "One world sovereign. That world is amazing. Big shot, please take me flying. I am Cao Ya from the laughing proud Jianghu. Which world are you from?" Cao Ya wore a green shirt and even had a wine gourd hanging from his waist. "The world of high martial arts," replied teacher Cao Ya. "Global high martial arts. The world's martial arts value is not low either. Among us, besides the stability and stability system of the leader of one world sovereign, we can also compare with mysterious resurrection. By the way, brother, which world are you in?" The other 7 Cao Ya looked at the silent and indifferent Cao Ya at the end, with a curious expression in their eyes. This guy, it's not easy at first glance. Well, I'm definitely not easy. Naruto. Cao Yayan is concise and concise. Hokage. Detective Conan asked Cao Yaqi enthusiastically, "Have you killed Tuanzang and Sandai?" "I've always wanted to kill these 2 old guys." Naruto. Cao Ya gave a bitter smile and was about to speak when mysterious resurrection interrupted him, saying, "Share your memories." Immediately, 8 Cao Ya held hands. They are all Cao Ya, but they ran off course during their journey. Traveled to different worlds. This space is where they meet and communicate. In fact, there is no need for dialogue, just physical contact can receive the memory of another Cao Ya. Of course, the owner can choose to keep it. But it's all one person, what's worth keeping? Sleeping trough. Brother, you've been doing too badly. Detective Conan looked at Naruto, Cao Ya, and could not help but complain. Roast said, "I was hidden by the regiment." Shameful. Cao Ya shook his head and said contemptuously, "I've lost my face, Cao Ya. Xiao Ao Jianghu." Cao Yadao said, "If you can't win against Tuanzang, don't go to the route and become a chess piece. Give Tuanzang your life. It's a miracle that you can live until now." Mysterious resurrection. Cao Yadao. Naruto, Cao Ya has a black face, Nima, and roast about my efforts. You guys are also me, okay? Brother, you're too high. Profile and not rational enough. Cao Ya, the One Life King, took a picture of Cao Ya, that Naruto, and said with concern. Unlike the other Cao Ya, he belongs to the one immortal sovereign. That world, if you don't pay attention, becomes a chess piece, and you don't know when you'll die because you're not sure if you've ever been resurrected. Cao Ya, from the worlds of Tianlong Babu, Xiaoao Jianghu, and Xindiao heroes, not to mention, possesses the power of the 7 heavens in the external scenery and is invincible in all directions. It is Cao Ya, who is known for his mysterious recovery, as the head of a city with great power and reputation. Only Detective Conan, Cao Ya, is too lazy and spends his days in high school. And Cao Ya, who is a global martial arts expert, is at least a teacher with some status and status. Cao Ya of Naruto smiled helplessly, saying that the big shot had not been noticed by the legendary big shot and the big shot on the other side, and could grow freely. He was in dire straits. His parents were all cannon fodder from Zhongren, and even if they died on the battlefield, they didn't know who would hold them. Relying on his parents' legacy, his life is not a problem, and my village also provides support for orphans. The problem is that after entering the ninja school, he was a bit high-profile and caught the attention of Shimura Tanzo. Naturally, he entered the route and planted the mark of tongue curse. A little genius without bloodline will not fall out with Tuanzang for this. Besides, perhaps this is what the third generation tacitly agreed upon. You should know that even the geniuses of the ninja tribe in my village, if Tuanzang were to target them, it is highly likely that they would also be taken to the root. If there is no tacit approval and support from 3 generations, it is nonsense. That's all before. Naruto Cao Ya straightened his back and said stubbornly, with the help of a few big shots, it's just a group hiding. It's a matter of minutes. Cao Ya nodded with a smile on his face. Naruto Cao Ya looked enviously at Xiao Ao Jianghu Cao Ya, Tian Long Ba Bu Cao Ya, and Xinjiao Xia Couple Cao Ya, and said, you 3 are the most satisfied. You are backed by the big shots and invincible in your respective worlds. 1 Tian Long Ba Bu Chao Wu Di, 1 Xinjiao Xia Couple Chao Da Di, and 1 Xiao Ao Jianghu Chao Dao Jun. Nima, either become an emperor or become a Buddha. Cao Ya, the legend of the Condor heroes, and Xiao Ao Jianghu exchanged a glance and chuckled. The world level is low, sometimes there are still some benefits. Cao Yaping promoted the Northern Song and Liao states, established the Chao state, and used the surname as the country name to suppress the world. No one dares to refuse. Emperor Cao Wu is not just talking about it. With the power of the 7 heavens in the external scenery of Cao Ya, the one-world sovereign, in a low martial world like Jin Yong's martial arts, it is simply a dimension-lowering blow. The Divine Eagle heroes also followed the same path, pacifying the Southern Song dynasty in Mongolia, and establishing a unified imperial dynasty, known as Emperor Cao. Cao Ya, who was known for his arrogance in the martial arts world, did not overthrow the Ming dynasty, but he came from the Huashan sect and fought against invincible opponents in the world. He was known for his invincibility in the East, as well as his indomitable spirit, Zhuolingshan, Fangzheng, and Chongshu. With just one glance, he passed by in seconds. Moreover, in the world of laughing proud Jianghu, he spreads his martial arts skills widely and has the intention to promote the world to a higher level. The name of Dao Jun is simply said to be smiling and proud in the world, but it truly deserves its name. But you're too lacking in ambition, right? Naruto Cao Ya looked at Detective Conan Cao Ya and said with great sadness. It's really hard to believe that such a lazy guy is actually him. With invincible power, how could you spend your days wandering around the campus? Don't be too jealous, said the famous detective. Cao Ya lazily waved his hand. Among us, you are the most shameful, Cao Ya said calmly. Naruto Cao Ya's expression froze. Brother, hitting people without hitting their faces is not recommended. Through the system space, a group of Cao Ya can not only share memories, but also share power. And with the power of the 7 heavens in the outer scene of Cao Ya, the One Life Lord, and the mysterious resurrection, Cao Ya naturally does not have to risk his life to control the fierce ghost. Externally, 7 heavens, in the world of mysterious resurrection, cannot be considered top-notch, but it is definitely not weak. Most importantly, his strength has no hidden dangers. Most of the ghost hunters in the mysterious resurrection are short-lived ghosts, with a small number of monsters like the protagonist Yang Jian who have crashed. However, when using the power of the ghost to transition, there is still a risk of ghost revival. As the person in charge of Daeong City, Mysterious Resurrection, Chao Adamren is not allowed to be the team leader, and he has a considerable reputation in the circle of ghost hunters. The average fierce ghost is easy to deal with. Of course, when dealing with those special and fierce ghosts, such as ghost traps and ghost paintings, one still needs to be cautious. What I'm most afraid of is that kind of fierce ghost with special rules. However, in that world, no one knew that Cao Ya relied on himself, and everyone believed that he was an outsider among the demon hunters. Cao Ya, Daeang City. An extremely mysterious captain-level ghost tamer. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Cao Ya's Killing Heart. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Cao Ya's Killing Heart. Cao Ya seemed to be the most caring and advised, don't be careless. I, the One World Lord, am only the 7 heavens in the external scene. If I don't reach the Dharma body, I am only at level 6. Even if my power is stacked, compared to those shadow-level masters in Naruto, I can only say that they have their own strengths and weaknesses. Our power sharing is roughly equivalent to the shadow level in Naruto, pondered Cao Ya, the One World Lord. It may be enough to deal with those powerful shadow levels. Like during the peak of the 3 generations, or the Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Daitu, and Zillai, we should still be slightly weaker now. If we deal with Nagato, we must run away. Naruto, Cao Ya understood that he could now confront and even seize the opportunity to kill Tuanzang, but he couldn't be arrogant and might capsize in the sewer at some point. In the later stages of Naruto, after reaching level 6, it is possible to explode stars. The power level is not weak anymore. At present, there are 8 Cao Ya in the space. Apart from the stable suppression of the One World Sovereign and Global High Martial Arts, the mysterious resurrection world is too special to determine its level. The remaining 4 worlds, including Tianlong Babu, Xinjiao Heroes, Xiaoao Jianghu, and Detective Conan, are all inferior to Naruto in terms of pure power. We all practice martial arts and follow the One World Sovereign system. What system are you two planning to follow in the future? The ninja system of Naruto, the martial arts system of Chakra, the martial arts system of Global High Martial Arts, and the martial arts system of Qi and Blood. Xiao Ao Jianghu. Cao Ya asked 2 newcomers. Before the 2 of them appeared, there was a slight difference in the military strength of the original 6 worlds, namely, Heavenly Dragon 8 Departments, Divine Eagle Heroes, Laughing Proud Jianghu, and Detective Conan. However, in front of the One World Lord, they were insignificant. Mysterious resurrection. The world is too special, and becoming a demon slayer has too many hidden dangers, which is not a good choice. So all 6 Cao Ya practitioners practice the One Life Sovereign system. Anyway, the upper limit of the One Life Supreme system is high enough. And it's the kind that's higher than the ceiling. However, the 2 new players, one Naruto and one Global High Martial, as well as the slightly inferior Naruto, can reach their peak and also explode stars. It is possible for them to choose their own world cultivation system. Detective Conan pondered for a moment and slowly spoke, why not? You still cultivate an extraordinary system in this world. 7 Cao Yaqi brushes and looks at him. He smiled and spoke softly, the powers of different systems can be stacked, if they are too weak. Cao Ya showed an unnatural expression in the 8 heavenly dragons, the divine eagle heroes, and the smiling and proud Jianghu. Of course, there is no need for cultivation, Cao Ya, a detective named Conan, chuckled lightly. But whether it's Naruto or Global High Martial Arts, although the upper limit is not as high as the One World Sovereign and far behind. But for us now, it's strong enough. As he spoke, his eyes sparkled with brilliance. Even if one enters the Dharma realm, the chakra system and Global High Martial system of Naruto still have great benefits. What do you think? He looked at 7 Cao Ya. Everyone looked at each other and nodded. Anyway, in a cultivation system, as long as one Cao Ya breaks through, the next time he enters the system space, other Cao Ya can also break through. Fong Ping has enrolled, why not take him as a disciple? Cao Ya asked curiously. Global Advanced Martial Arts, Cao Ya is a teacher of the 6 grades of martial arts and the Demon Capital University of Martial Arts. He is a person of the previous generation. He is in the same generation as LV Fengru, Li Chongsheng, etc., and is not in the same generation as Fang Ping, the main character, an important supporting role Wang Jinyang, Qin Fengqin, etc. At this time, Fang Ping had already been admitted to the Magic City Martial Arts University and was a freshman, studying under LV Fengru. If he is willing, he can argue with LV Fengru. But Cao Ya had no intention of this at all. There are too many memories and too many distractions, and everyone only chooses the important ones to watch. Upon hearing this, Cao Ya replied, Fang Ping has too many secrets and follows too many people. It will also cause trouble in the future. I just want to silently cultivate and contribute to the human race. With a slight smile, he said, I was originally very urgent. Fang Ping enrolled, and the world situation will change greatly in the next few years. But now with you. I am confident that I can make a contribution in the future changes. Boss, I have to rely on you. Looking at Cao Ya, the One World Lord, make a gesture of plea. Cao Ya is helpless. Does everyone rely on him? Nima, Munchi has entered Shaolin Temple, and I also feel a sense of crisis, okay. I hope to come to 2 super worlds next time. Cao Ya sincerely prays, the One World Sovereign. Naruto. My village. Cao Ya got up from the bed, and the sunlight outside was slightly bright. He looked for a while, and the sun rose in the east, finally unable to help but smile. Tuanzang, you're an old immortal. Let's see how I can manipulate you. Cao Ya was ruthless and withdrew from the ninja school early, joining Root. He was also planted with the curse of the tongue and became a dog in Tuanzang's hand, allowing him to bite wherever he wanted. If it weren't for his cleverness and familiarity with the plot, he would have died a long time ago. Being able to live to this day, even entering the system space, encountering 7 selves with superpowers, Tuanzang, this time for the Chinese ninja exam, not only will 3 generations have to hiccup, but you can also die together. Cao Ya's eyes flickered with cold light. At this time, it happened to be the time when Naruto, Sasuke, and Ichiro participated in the Nakano exam. That is, the Kiba collapse plan launched by Orochimaru. He is not prepared to remind the 3rd generation. 3 generations of that dirty politician, it's best to die. The strongest Hokage of all dynasties. The 3 generations are really boastful. Cao Ya sneered. Now what is circulating in the village? The 3 generations are the strongest Hokage of all dynasties, it's like the world is in chaos. Whether or not we can win the 4th generation will be discussed in detail, and perhaps the 2nd generation can also play a game. 1st generation hit with the head. Moreover, Cao Ya was too lazy to mention the 3 generations of fire shadow ape flying sun slaying. The suicide of Muyi Baiya, it can be said that there was no writing behind it by San Dai and Tuanzang. How about fooling children? Sanren may betray or run away, but there may also be disappointment. Forget about Orochimaru. Even Zilai and Gungute don't want to stay in the village, doesn't that mean anything? Zelaya and Gungute's love for Konoha comes from the bottom of their bones and hearts. Furthermore, the heroic orphan of Naruto has been ostracized by the entire village, with almost all eyes turned pale from childhood to adulthood. Every time, the 3 generations appear in the image of a benevolent old man, the behind-the-scenes lies. Are the 3 generations trying to tame Naruto? What's hiding Naruto's identity? It's ridiculous. Naruto Demon Fox Incarnation, and Kiba is well known to everyone. What else can we talk about hiding the identity of the human pillar in this situation? Are spies from other villages foolish? Even if the spy drops their intelligence, don't people like Tuang and Laying still know about Joe? The incarnation of a demon fox, as long as it is not foolish and knows the tailed beast, can be associated with the nine-tailed. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Encountering Class 7 and Kaiban by chance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Encountering Class 7 and Kaiban by chance. Well, the third generation has Orochimaru to solve it, and I will go find Tuanzang to solve it. The other two advisors, Shunlai Koharu and Mito Menyen. Forget it, the two elites are just going to ninja. Now that they are so old, it's unclear whether they have the strength to go to ninja. Cao Ya touched his chin and thought, without 3 generations and Tuanzang, these two old guys wouldn't be able to make any waves. He suddenly frowned. Can I handle the kaleidoscope of instant body stopping water in Tuanzang's hand? Cao Ya shook his head. None of the 7 Cao Ya were proficient in illusion, and when faced with other gods, they were basically blind. Well, it's a difficult problem to have other gods. Cao Ya is not worried about the curse of the tongue and the seal of extinction. Once he enters the system space, this thing will be washed away directly. He doesn't even need to take action. Now possessing the 7 heavenly realms of Cao Ya, the one world lord, and the 6-rank power of Cao Ya, the global high martial arts, coupled with his own ability to endure, without considering other gods, he is confident in directly killing Tuanzang. The problem lies in other gods. This thing is too bug. Forcefully modify the opponent's will, dominate the eye of will, turn the person seen by the caster into his puppet. This kind of bug ability, the water stop, can also hurt Tuanzang's sneak attack. Cao Ya was unable to roast that the Yuzhibo family was killed, which is really inevitable, unless a second generation of Yuzhibo was born, and all the ninjas in Mai were killed by the people who hanged and fried the sky. After all, there is no such thing as 1,000 pillars at this time. Unfortunately, Yuzhibo Jishui and Yuzhibo Itachi did not stand on Yuzhibo's side. Otherwise, the 3 kaleidoscopes of Jishui, Itachi, and Fuyue, combined with the efforts to win over wealthy families such as Hinata, Sandai, and Tuanzang, may not necessarily surpass Uchiha. You should know that the majority of the Hinata family are actually dissatisfied with the 3 generations regarding the difference between Hinata and Hinata. Well, except for the ancestral family. I don't know if some of the secrets of the One World Lord can be used, Cao Ya pondered as he had some ideas to deal with other gods. At this moment, various sounds gradually came from the streets outside, and Mai regained the vitality of the first ninja village. After the Chinese ninja exam, should we try competing with Hokage? Cao Ya's mind turned to this idea and he immediately burst into laughter. Fantastic! He is an upper ninja and indeed has made many contributions to the leaves of wood, but after all, he belongs to the roots and mostly does things that cannot be seen in the light. His contributions cannot all be expressed. Moreover, the various forces of Kiba cannot accept a root member of Tuanzang as a fire shadow. Tuanzang and they don't accept it. Gangsho, or Zelaya, is more in line with their interests. It is also the will of the people. Unless Cao Ya has the power of Chongmen, violence overwhelms all opposing voices. But reaching super shadow level is not so easy. In the current world of ninja, perhaps only Chongmen has a super shadow level. In terms of hard power, Dai-Tu, Itachi, Anoki, Zelaya, and others are definitely not as powerful as the long gate of the reincarnation eye. Cao Ya is getting dressed and going out. He needs to report to the root. After the Uchiha extermination incident, the 3rd generation Hokage Monkey Flying Sun Slayer ordered the dismissal of Jitsuan Tuanzang from his position as Hokage assistant and instructed Tuanzang to disband the root organization. But it is obvious that this is just an order to deceive all sides of the wooden leaf, and it is also a strike by the 3 generations against the group. And the 3rd generation clearly won't let go of a white glove like the root. Even if there is a dark department in the 3rd generation, many things are difficult for the dark department to come forward, and it still needs to be hidden by the Guiying group and his roots. The Guiying group was tightly controlled by the Huiying monkey flying sun slash. No wonder Tuanzang has been using a proxy Huiying for decades to get through his addiction. The root still exists, but it does not appear on the surface. For example, Cao Ya, who was a member of the root group, had to obey the orders of Tuanzang until the removal of the tongue curse root seal. But his position is actually a member of the dark side. Monkey Flying Sun Slayer doesn't know he's a subordinate of Tuanzang. I tacitly agreed to some of Tuanzang's small actions. Having burdened Tuanzang with so much trouble, the third generation must give some benefits. So Cao Ya appears to be a member of the dark side, but in reality, the three generations rarely give orders to him, and Tuanzang generally does not touch him. But Cao Ya knew that as long as he received orders, whether from the third generation or the Tuanzang, it would be an extremely dangerous task. The Chinese ninja exam is approaching, and the participating teams from various ninja villages are coming to Kiba, putting a lot of pressure on public security. Especially now, Uchiha, who is in charge of the police force, has been annihilated. The members of the dark side have heavy tasks. Nima, all 996, like a capitalist. Cao Ya roast. After Uchiha's extermination, the police department has not been rebuilt. According to the timeline, the police force will not be rebuilt until Bo Ren Chuan. Although Cao Ya is above endurance and has gained some status, he is definitely not as valued by Tuanzang as Oil Maiden takes roots and Mountain Wind in his roots. This also has a benefit, as Tuanzang doesn't know him well enough. In Tuanzang's view, all the members at the root have been subjected to the curse of tongue and root. What are they afraid of? I walked around the base and didn't see Tuanzang. I don't know why I went. In the original work, Orochimaru launched the Muba collapse plan, and Tanzo was also hidden in the dark and did not appear at all. Cao Ya left the base at the root. The participating teams from each village have entered Kiba. Currently, Orochimaru should not have assassinated the fourth generation of Fengying, but instead disguised himself as a candidate from Chaoyin village and infiltrated Kiba. He is not prepared to deal with Orochimaru either. At least not necessary now. Later on. Besides, Orochimaru's research ability is still top-notch. As he passed by the bathhouse, Cao Ya instinctively glanced and his gaze immediately froze. A tall man with long white hair was lying outside the women's bathhouse, voyeuristically peeking at her. Zelaya. Seeing Zelaya, one of the three ninjas, Cao Ya did not find it strange. In the original timeline, Zilai also returned to Kiba at this time. I don't know who I am now, but I have a fight with Zilai. Who is stronger, who is weaker? Cao Ya suddenly felt a little itchy and gained the power of those 7 Cao Ya, especially the self of the One World Lord and the Global High Martial Arts. Cao Ya's combat power skyrocketed to the shadow level in the Naruto world. He restrained the impulse. It's not cost-effective to expose one's strength now. His goal, from beginning to end, should always be Tuanzang. Other gods. Cao Ya frowned and walked away. Outside the women's bathhouse, Zilai turned around and didn't pay attention. He had been away from Mai for some years. Hee, girls are too tender, mature women are too mature, it's better for these young women. That figure. Oh. Zilai also felt a bit overwhelmed and touched his nose, feeling a bit damp. He is an experienced old driver. The power of a young woman is truly extraordinary. Yao Lamian noodles. Boss, a dish of pork bone Lamian noodles should be bigger. Cao Ya came to have breakfast and as soon as he arrived, he saw several familiar figures. Kakashi, Might Kai, Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Tian, Xiaoli, and Ningxi. Class 7 and Class Kai are both present. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Cracking Other Heavenly Gods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. cracking other heavenly gods. Oh, Cao Ya. Kai greeted enthusiastically, showing a signature smile, his big white teeth reflecting sunlight, a bit dazzling. On the side, Kakashi rolled his eyes. Kai, Kakashi. Cao Ya greeted with a smile, his name in this world is Yudachuan Cao Ya. Cao Ya stayed in the Dark Department and can be considered a member of the Dark Department, and he himself is in the same generation as Kakashi and Kai, so he naturally knows each other. But later on, he didn't go to ninja school, and his relationship gradually became estranged. It was not until the roots were dissolved on the surface and he entered the darkness, able to walk in the sunlight, that he established friendship with Kakashi and Kai again. Kakashi, is this your student? Cao Ya sat down and looked at Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Kakashi nodded. Naruto looked at Cao Ya with suspicion and said, Uncle, who are you? Naruto, be polite, Sakura warned, revealing a sweet smile that immediately captivated Naruto and Shaoli. But Sakura didn't pay any attention to Sasuke, who was concerned. Sakura lowered her head in frustration. It's not good for your health to start dating so early, Cao Ya joked. Xiaoying's face immediately turned red, and steam almost emitted from her head. Naruto and Shaoli exchanged a glance, both looking at their rivals and snorting coldly. Bored, Sasuke said coldly. Kai was so excited that tears welled up in his eyes. Oh, this is the blood of youth. Kakashi. Kakashi has a black face. Nima, these little guys are precocious and affectionate. Kai, what are you interrupting? And even say my name. He couldn't help but glance at Cao Ya. Cao Ya joked, Kakashi, there are so many women chasing after you, why don't you get married? Holding on to this book, Love Heaven, every day, you should know that practice is the only criterion for testing truth. Or. With a wicked smile, he said, are you not interested in women? Get lost. Kakashi was not feeling well. I'm not interested in women. So, do I still watch Love Heaven? Cao Ya, you seem to have changed, Kai said coldly. Cao Ya was taken aback. Kai scratched his head and said, you seem to have become more outgoing. Although you used to love to laugh, you were actually a bit worried. Perhaps I have made progress. Cao Ya raised his eyebrows, Kai's sensitivity was so keen. Entering the system space, his strength skyrocketed, and the seal of tongue curse was directly washed away by the system space. Indeed, his mood is very different now. To put it 10,000 steps back, even if you can't kill Tuanzang and Defect directly, in this world of tolerance, with the help of prior knowledge and intelligence, being cautious is generally not too dangerous. Kai's eyes lit up and he said, progress in physical skills. Cao Ya, I want to challenge you. On the side, Sasuke couldn't help but look at Cao Ya, scrutinizing and expecting. He now craves revenge and urgently needs strength. Cao Ya naturally refused, and he still had to take action against Tuanzang from behind. He cannot reveal his strength now. Who knows if the sparring with Kai will be seen by someone with ulterior motives. Although Cao Ya is a member of the Roots, he is actually not familiar with the Roots. Except for Tuanzang, only a few people, such as Yuna Picking Roots and Shan's Hongfeng, are familiar with all members of the Roots. And Sasuke's gaze, Cao Ya noticed, but Quan Dang didn't see it. Yujibwa's orphan has too many followers, so in his current situation, he still needs to stay away from this vortex. Besides, with Itachi's attention, Sasuke is destined to have the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan. That pair of eyes is the foundation of Sasuke. Cao Ya's strength, however, mainly lies in his physical skills. The One World King system, the Global High Martial Arts system, and the Naruto Ninja Chakra 8 poles cannot be defeated. What ninjutsu and illusion are all based on his original knowledge of upper ninja. Unfortunately, the original Cao Ya was just a biased student. Better than Kai, very limited. His physical skills were also surpassed by Kai on 8 major roads. Basically, in the duel between ninjas, Cao Ya doesn't need any other ninjas or illusions except for the 3-body technique. It's better to use physical skills, Cao Ya tearfully felt in his heart. At first, he had 120,000 expectations for ninjutsu, especially hallucinations. Fortunately, with the blessings of the 7 worlds of One World and global high martial arts, he possesses exceptional physical abilities. Apart from Kai, he can truly say that no one is lacking. Class 7 and Class Kai will leave first, and the ninja exam is about to begin. They will conduct special training for the students. Cao Ya ate porridge bone ramen noodles and checked out. Because he only appears to belong to the dark side organization, but in reality, he is under the command of Tuanzang. So the tasks of the dark side are rarely assigned to him. In the following days, Cao Ya stayed in seclusion and focused on studying how to crack other gods. The final result is unable to crack it. Can only dodge in advance. To crack other gods head-on, one must at least have the eternal kaleidoscope Sharingan, like the long gate of the Sharingan, and should not be afraid of other gods. After all, other gods also rely on their pupils to exert their power. The pupil power of the Sharingan and the eternal kaleidoscope is definitely greater than that of a single-eyed kaleidoscope. In Tuanzang's hand, there is only one eye that stops water, while the other eye is in Itachi's hand. 6 levels, let alone immunity to almost all ninjutsu. Double-eyed gods are not effective against the 6 levels. The release of other celestial beings requires concentrated chakras in the eyes, and there will also be brief pauses during the release. Cao Ya pondered and gradually relaxed his brows. As long as there was a buffer time, even if it was short, it was still a flaw. Besides, Tuanzang didn't know that I knew his intelligence. He thought he had hidden all his intelligence very well. Well, that's not wrong. Cao Ya tapped the table with his fingers, making a clear sound. He nodded imperceptibly and whispered to himself, no skill is invincible. As long as you know the intelligence, you can always come up with a way to deal with it. Even the most powerful illusion technique of other gods, seemingly unsolvable, remains the same. At this point, Cao Ya removed a heartache and had 3 large bowls of rice for dinner. The participating teams from various ninja villages have arrived, and the Chinese ninja exam will start soon. Cao Ya didn't pay any attention to the written test and the death forest scene. He patiently waited for the final knockout stage. Well, by this time, Orochimaru has already taken down the 4th generation of Fengying. To be honest, Cao Ya couldn't figure out the decision of the 4 generations Fengying. Collaborating with Orochimaru to develop Muba. What is the picture? Relieve the pressure on Shiin village. Don't be fooled, Muyi has suffered a heavy blow. If it weren't for the death of the 3rd Hokage and the failure to select the 5th Hokage in the short term, Shiin village would definitely face Muyi's fatal retaliation. The 3 melons and 2 jujubes in Shiin village can withstand the full fire of the wooden leaves. If we can really kill the 3rd generation Hokage as we wish, creating a power vacuum for Mai and taking advantage of the opportunity for Shiin village to seize benefits, there is indeed a slight possibility. The problem is that the 4th generation Fengying died earlier than the 3rd generation Huiying. I can only say that the 4th generation Fengying Luo Sha is a waste. And the things he did to me, AI Luo, were really not human affairs. This kind of brainwashed product can even be a shadow, it can only be said that there are really no people in Shiin village. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Kiba Collapse Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Kiba Collapse Plan. Because during the elimination stage of the Chinese ninja exam, political figures from the Fire Country will also attend. So during this period, the outside of Kiba village has been loose and the inside is tight, and the members of the dark side are busy like dogs. Cao Ya is one of the few leisurely shadows. However, he received an order from Tuanzang to reduce his outings in the next few days and not allow him to make any unauthorized moves upon hearing any news. This command is a bit special. It seems that Tuanzang knows what will happen next, so he strictly orders the root members in advance not to go out. He seems to want to create a relaxed environment for Orochimaru to launch the Kiba collapse plan. Besides Orochimaru and the fourth generation Wind Shadow, did Tuanzang also participate in this my collapse plan? Cao Ya sneered, thinking carefully about the position of that fire shadow. Unfortunately, all of his calculations fell through. The 5 Dynasties Hokage is 1,000 armed master. Tuanzang's path was completely wrong. The root has controlled too many geniuses, whether they are commoner geniuses or ninja geniuses, many of whom are forcefully forced to leave by Tuanzang and are controlled by the seal of tongue and root destruction. Although these actions were tacitly approved by 3 generations of Hokage, you are the one who took action. Having offended various forces in Kiba, including civilian ninjas and ninjas of the ninja clan, and offending them all once, do you still want to be a Hokage? Dream it. It can be said that since Tuanzang established his roots and reached out to the common genius and the ninja genius, he had cut off the path of Hokage. Tuanzang has been schemed to death by the monkey flying sun for his entire life. The mountain rain is about to come, and the wind fills the building. Cao Ya walked out of the room, the breeze blowing, the trees swaying in the yard, and occasional laughter outside the wall. He endured the exam amidst heated discussions. His eyes were deep and his expression was wooden. Lead out Tuanzang. Starting from the base is not good for me. Cao Ya whispered. The elimination round of the Chinese ninja exam was in full swing, and Orochimaru, disguised as the 4th generation Wind Shadow, licked his lips. Your Excellency Fengying, your sand-hidden I love Luo is really excellent. Sandai Huiying exclaimed. He could see that I love Luo is like a pillar of human power, but does this not necessarily indicate the potential of my love Luo? Orochimaru smiled and was too lazy to answer. Wait a little longer, teacher, and you'll know what excellence is. The 3rd generation Hokage revealed a slight color difference, and this 4th generation Wind Shadow was somewhat different from what he had encountered before, even giving him a strange feeling. However, the 3rd generation Hokage didn't pay much attention either. He is not familiar with the 4th generation of Fengying, and more of his knowledge comes from intelligence collection. It is normal for him to have some deviation. Not to mention the excellence of my beloved Luo in Cheyenne Village, and the youth of my, are they just inferior? Sasuke, who fought against my beloved, is the orphan of Uchiha. Yuzhibo, once the most powerful family in the ninja world. Riding Wheel Eyes, that is the blood inheritance limit that everyone covets. Now on the field, Sasuke and Iero are engaged in a battle that is difficult to distinguish. Suddenly, a strange change occurred in the entire competition venue of the Chinese ninja exam. Most of the audience fell asleep, as if they had been enchanted. Only a small number of ninjas avoid illusions and stay awake. Your Excellency Fengying. 3rd generation Huiying suddenly looked at 4th generation Fengying with a gloomy expression. Just as he was about to question, he saw the gaze of the 4th generation Fengying cold and cold, saying coldly, let's start. 2 figures flashed by, and the smoke exploded. And with a loud roar, a massive snake appeared, wreaking havoc on the wooden leaves. This is Kakashi, Kai and others shook. Brush. The figure of the 4th generation Wind Shadow flashed, and it even carried the 3rd generation Fire Shadow. Several figures jumped out and separated into 4 corners. With the command of the 4 generations Wind and Shadow, the 4 of them formed seals one after another. For Purple Flame Formation. Boundary, said the 3rd Hokage in a low voice, I never expected that Cheyenne would betray Muyi. The 4th generation of Fengying said coldly, the treaty is just a cover-up to relax the opponent. Now, the boring competition game is over. The wheels of history are about to roll. Do you want to provoke war? Asked the third Hokage. He didn't even notice that this fourth-generation Fengying was disguised by Orochimaru. Orochimaru smiled coldly and said, "Hee, have you become dementia as you get older? Teacher monkey flying. Third-generation Hokage has tight pupils. You." In an instant, a name came to his mind. Big Snake Maru. The sober crowd erupted in an uproar, and a group of ninjas in Kiba shook. Orochimaru, one of the three ninjas in the past, is now Kiba's rebellious ninja. He actually killed him and came back. And the people in Cheyenne village are a bit confused. Orochimaru. What's going on? My boss is just a shadow. Is there another transaction between Fengying and Orochimaru? Let Orochimaru appear here to replace him, while Fengying Pavilion goes elsewhere. On the other side. Cao Ya hid in the dark, carrying a knife around his waist. Sure enough, Orochimaru launched the Muba collapse plan. Oh, I should take action too. Cao Ya turned around and left. The plan for the collapse of Kiba will not cause significant losses to Kiba, except for the deaths of 3 generations, as well as the deaths of some ninjas and civilians. Cao Ya has more important things to do for him. Death Forest. Brush. Tuanzang appeared in the Death Forest, with thick trees and shadows everywhere. What the hell is Cao Ya doing? Tuanzang frowned and received a special letter from his subordinate. Cao Ya said in the letter that there was an extremely important matter to report to him, which was related to the life and death of the roots and leaves, but could not be based at the roots. The letter specifies Death Forest. He is not afraid of Cao Ya's tricks. Applying the seal of tongue curse, the group hides the root members under the opponent, which is actually quite reassuring. Upon hearing the commotion in the village, Tuanzai had a chill in his eyes. Does she Maru? After killing Rizhan, you probably won't feel good either. Oh, it happened to be cheaper for me. Who in the village can compete with me for the position of the 5 Dynasties Fire Shadow? Tuanzang's eyes flashed with a fiery expression. The position of Huiying is his obsession. Ever since the second-generation Qianshou Gaima designated the monkey-flying sun / as the third-generation Hokage, this obsession has been following him. Master Tuanzang. Cao Ya emerged from the depths of the forest with a seemingly respectful expression. Tuanzang glanced at me and scolded, "Tell me quickly, what did you find? If you're fooling me." Speaking of which, he laughed. The members at the root knew his temper and fooled him. Oh, how hard is that to think about? Cao Ya suddenly became worried, looking around as if afraid of being discovered by others. With me around, who dares to eavesdrop? Speak up. Tuanzang shouted, dissatisfied with Cao Ya's cowardly expression. This kind of waste. It seems that we need to find a way to make Cao Ya die for me. Tuanzang's eyes were filled with coldness. Yes. Yes. Cao Ya trembled and ran forward, approaching Tuanzang with a deep voice in his mouth. Tuanzang couldn't help but listen attentively. I said. Go to hell. Cao Ya drew a long sword with his left hand, covering it with chakras, and slashed Tuanzang horizontally. I pinched a special palm print with my right hand, like a Buddhist formula. Seeing Cao Ya suddenly erupt into violence, Tuanzang immediately froze and then became furious. Cao Ya, have you been controlled by that guy from Orochimaru? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Explosive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Explosive. At the moment when Cao Ya erupted and launched an attack, Tuanzang immediately believed that Cao Ya was being controlled by Orochimaru and that those who did not speak of martial arts would launch a surprise attack on him. Otherwise, just relying on Cao Ya, how dare he take action against him? Is the seal of the tongue truly a decoration? Whether it's Orochimaru or not, since Cao Ya may have been controlled by others. Then let's kill him. Tuanzang's gaze was cold, he just put on a forbearance, and he took it seriously, but it was just that. If it were for the elite to endure, he would truly feel sorry. To deal with Cao Ya, who was so tolerant, Tuanzang was even too lazy to use his writing will I. Wind escape. Vacuum wave. Tuanzang quickly formed a seal and exhaled a sharp breath from his mouth, like a chakra sword that could cut through objects. He even saw Cao Ya's body cut in two by this move. Pop. The two corpses turned into two pieces of rotten wood. Stand-up technique. Tuanzai was taken aback and immediately felt angry. He even tricked a subordinate into a move. But he suddenly felt a palpitations. Boom. A terrifying force came from behind and directly exploded the air. Body technique. Is this Cao Ya? A thought flashed through, and the hiding place exploded with blood splattering. Cao Ya launched a sudden attack and killed Tuanzang with one move, but he was not happy and remained extremely solemn. The next second, a sound came from the forest. Cao Ya. No, you're definitely not Cao Ya. Who the hell are you? Tuanzai walked out of the shadow with a gloomy face, his right arm fully exposed, and a row of crimson writing wheel eyes densely arranged above. On his shoulder, there was also a blurry face, pale and terrifying. One of the 10 writing wheel eyes on the right arm is already closed. My writing wheel eyes. Tuanzang was extremely angry. Every Sharingan is a life. Squinting his eyes slightly, Cao Ya glanced at the writing wheel on his hand and said in a plain tone, if Itachi knew about the writing wheel on your arm, I don't know how he would feel. Do you know Itachi? Tuanzang frowned tightly. Yuzhibo wiped out the clan, and Itachi and Daitu moved their hands, and his roots also moved. Otherwise, where did that pile of writing wheel eyes come from? No matter who you are dead today, Tuanzang said indifferently, his hands imprinted, and he spat out a large, sharp chakra knife. Foam done, vacuum continuous wave. Kong Kong is not bad. Cao Ya instigated diamond immortal skill and instantly transformed into a little golden man. This is one of the Dharma body masterpieces of Shaolin Temple in the real world, which can condense the Dharma body of the immortal king. Although not as good as the Buddha's golden body, it can still be considered a superior Dharma body. The sublimation of the Vajra Dharma body cultivated from the golden bell mask. By using the power of the 7 heavenly heavens in the exterior, Vajra immortal divine skill has initially acquired the characteristics of Vajra immortal. Not to mention that at this time, Cao Ya still had the 6th level chi and blood of global high martial arts and the upper level ninja level physical skills of Naruto. Even if Suzo Ninghu appears, he dares to charge up and fight. When? Continuous crisp sounds, the wind and vacuum waves emitted by Tuanzang were not even broken by Cao Ya's defense. What kind of body technique is this? Tuanzang was shocked. The 8 gates escaping armor formation. Not right. The 8 gates escaping armor formation will have various vapors, and he didn't even sense too much of Chakra's aura on Cao Ya. It seems that Cao Ya used purely physical strength, mixed with a little chakra. Samurai. But how could this be possible? Is the power of a ninja comparable to that of a mere warrior? Boom. Cao Ya had no intention of explaining, stomped on the ground, rushed over a distance of several tens of meters, grabbed the moment when Tuanzang was lost and directly punched and exploded. Perhaps it was because Tuanzang believed he had 10 Sharingans and 10 lives, so his mental state was too relaxed and he didn't get nervous even after dying once. The next second, Tuanzang appeared in another direction, looking at Cao Ya with a gloomy expression. Oh, Iyanaki. How many times can you use it? Cao Ya sneered and rushed forward, directly killing Tuanzang. Tuanzang's face became even darker, and he had a bad premonition in his heart. This Cao Ya seems to be familiar with his intelligence. At this point, he still didn't believe that Cao Ya was Cao Ya. Izanagi is a taboo technique for writing chakra eyes. When Tuanzang is on the brink of death, it triggers Izanagi protection, which only takes a very short time to transform the damage of the caster and adverse factors including death into a dream. Turn the tide of death. The cost is permanent blindness of the Sharingan, which can no longer be opened. Cao Ya made a strong move, and Diamond Immortal skill is powerful, with strong defense, explosive attack power, and fast speed. It can be said that it covers all aspects. After all, it is the ultimate Dharma body skill of the One World King. The most important thing is that Cao Ya is familiar with the intelligence in Tibet, and his possible response methods are all within Cao Ya's plan. Foam done, vacuum jade. Foam done, vacuum jade. Foam done, sword in hand. Wind escape. Vacuum blade. Spiritual communication. Dream taper. Tuanzang Tongling emerged from the legendary dream-eating beast, the dream taper. Just as he opened his mouth, he was preparing to use the wind escape to devour Cao Ya. However, Cao Ya took the initiative to greet him and violently punched the dream taper with an unparalleled punch. He's just a god of war. Tuanzang died again. Mu dun. Root explosion burial. Mu dun, explosive gun tree. Soon, the Sharingan on Tuanzang's right arm was completely closed, and all 10 Sharingans were permanently blind. Tuanzang can no longer use the technique of Izanagi. Damn it, you must use the other gods who stop water. I was thinking of controlling key figures during the competition for Hokage. Tuanzang gritted his teeth and hated Cao Ya to the bone. Don't be a god. At this moment, Tuanzang also became decisive, replacing the kaleidoscope writing will eye of Jishui, condensing chakra and looking at Cao Ya. Change your will. Become my most loyal subordinate. This kind of power is worth a visit to another god. Tuanzang instilled the message of permanent loyalty and never violating Tuanzang's orders, and aimed at Cao Ya to perform the art of the other gods. Too slow. When Cao Ya realized that Tuanzang was going to use another celestial god, he relied on his unparalleled physical body to directly avoid Tuanzang's sight, tear open the air, use all his strength, and deliver the strongest punch. Roaming and rumbling, it's like an avalanche. The earth is shaking and the mountains are shaking. The earth is cracking, and a ditch several hundred meters long and several tens of meters deep appears in the dead forest. Tuanzang was blasted into scum by Cao Ya without even saying his last words. The water-stopping kaleidoscope writing will eye was permanently eliminated. And the seal of the 4 symbols in Li was too late to activate. Cao Ya withdrew his fist and stood deep in the shattered forest of death, panting slightly. Killing the group 10 times in a row is not an easy task. Tuanzang has died, the seal of the tongue's curse has disappeared, and those members at the root have regained their freedom. Cao Ya muttered to himself, suddenly looking up to one side and chuckling, "Come out." After a moment of silence, several figures jumped out, with a cold and solemn demeanor, all members of the root group, such as the oily woman taking the root in the mountain wind. Looking at Cao Ya, they were full of shock. "Cao Ya. Isn't it upper ninja? Can you actually kill the dark leaf?" Jitsuan Tuanzang. They even suspect that they have made a mistake in their perception. But the disappearance of the seal of the tongue's curse is also true and not illusory. Cao Ya, who the hell are you? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Promoting Fame. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Promoting Fame. The oil girl took the root and asked the same question as Tuanzang. They don't think that the Cao Ya in front of them is the same as before. Someone definitely took over. Cao Ya is too lazy to explain, let's just misunderstand. Is it important? Cao Ya asked with a smile. Well, it really doesn't matter. Tuanzang is already dead, and the root is really going to disband. Where are we going in the future? For a moment, the masters of oil women taking roots and mountain strokes were somewhat confused. Returning to the sunshine. To be honest, during their tenure at the root of their employment and under the command of the group, they did so many unseen things that they never even thought of walking in the sunlight normally. Cao Ya smiled and said, I am Cao Ya. I killed Tuanzang. From now on, I will be the leader at the root. Who has any objections? Who agrees? Who opposes? A few people looked at each other invisibly, but in fact, they were not willing to obey the order of Cao Ya, who had killed Tuanzang. But Cao Ya didn't seem to give them a choice. If I really choose to oppose, I'm afraid. I'm about to follow the crowd and hide the dust, right? The scene of Tuanzang's death is still vividly remembered. The power of Cao Ya is too terrifying. There was a lot of commotion in Cao Ya's killing of Tuanzang. The members of the secret forces were unable to come due to the collapse of Orochimaru's wooden leaf plan, while the members of the base were fine, but they had time to come and investigate. Only these core figures at the root can come here without being banned by the group. What do you want to do? Hokage the Mountain Wind asked with blood. He keenly sensed that after Cao Ya killed Tuanzang, he gathered his roots and had some special thoughts. The oil girl took the root and others showed off their strange colors, like a fiery shadow, which was a position that Tuanzang had struggled for decades but had not been able to sit in. Cao Ya chuckled and said, Huiying, those with strong power will do it, won't they? After a few seconds of silence, everyone nodded in unison. The root is different from the dark side, the upper ninja class, the medical department, etc. It has always believed in the respect of the strong. And Cao Ya believes that in a world like Naruto where there is extraordinary power, pursuing individual strength is enough. For example, in the thousand-handed pillar, is there anything he can't do? Just be ruthless. Whatever person disagrees with him, push him all the way to complete the task. Tuanzang has died, and the third generation should also be killed by Orochimaru now. Since then, there has been no intention of Hokage. Before Tsunade touched Naruto, he didn't even want to return to the village. At this moment, it's a great opportunity for Cao Ya to capture the fire shadow. However, he still needs to make a big contribution. For example, defeat Orochimaru. Cao Yuan smiled at my village. Then he gave orders to Oil Girl to take the roots, Mountain Wind, and others, summoned the members of the roots, and conveyed his instructions. In the future, he will visit the major ninja tribes of Kiba one by one. Yes. The oily woman took the root and listened to the mountain breeze. Then, they saw a scene that left them stunned. Cao Ya temporarily deactivated the effect of the little golden man, stomped his feet, and flew directly into the sky. Cao Ya, how could he fly? They have grown their mouths. In the world of Naruto, except for some ninjas with special ninjutsu skills, the vast majority of ninjas are unable to fly. But Cao Ya seems to have not used any ninjutsu. Perhaps Cao Ya could really sit in the position of Huiying. Suddenly, a thought emerged in the minds of several people. Descending from the sky and overturning the Orochimaru, this is enough to shock me. Oh, I have become the 5th-generation storyteller of Kiba. Cao Ya flew and no one noticed him. The experienced villagers of Kiba hide under the protection of ninjas, while members of the dark side, as well as some ninjas of the ninja tribe, fight against the attacking foreign ninjas. The focus of everyone is still on the examination room of the original Zhongren exam. The battle of 3 generations of Hokage and Orochimaru. There is also the first generation of Hokage reincarnated from filth. Second generation Hokage. The duel between Hokage and Hokage. To be honest, it was quite surprising that Orochimaru was able to control the filthy bodies of the first and second generations. The technique of rebirth in the filth, created by the second generation, wouldn't you even reverse it yourself? And how could Orochimaru possibly control the terrifying power of the first generation? Alright, Orochimaru has improved the technique of transforming from the filthy earth. The first and second generations are the bodies of turning from the filthy earth, no longer able to resist Orochimaru's previous strength. But when the first generation, second generation, and Orochimaru add up, can't they still defeat a third generation Hokage? The cost of Orochimaru having to put on 2 arms. The Shiwan is a bit useless. My arm. Orochimaru was shocked and angry. This time, he launched the Konoha collapse plan, and he didn't know how many emotions were driving him inside. Disappointment with Kiba, disappointment with the third generation, and mourning for the third generation. All of them, right. However, it is obvious that for the funeral of his mentor, Orochimaru definitely does not want to put on a pair of arms. Damn it, the operation is over. There's no need for a barrier, let's go back. Orochimaru ordered, and the 4 ninjas from Inren village who maintained the 4 purple flame formation lifted it. The shattered ground, 3 generations of Hokage corpses lying horizontally on the ground. The fire shadow that died in battle. Not to be considered a disgrace to Huiying. Let's go. Orochimaru ordered, and he still needed the help of his subordinates. Without his hands, his strength was greatly reduced, and it was difficult for him to escape from Konoha alone. I can't escape. A group of Konoha ninjas blocked the way. Big Snake Maru. Suddenly, a voice came from the sky. Everyone paused for a moment. What's going on? Surprisingly, someone is in the sky. Cao Ya lowered his head and looked at Orochimaru with a solemn expression. He spoke in a righteous voice, attack my, kill 3 generations of Hokage, kill ninjas and civilians. Orochimaru, your sins are severe. You must be judged. I, Konoha Uchida Kawakawa Cao, will bring you to justice. Kakashi, Kai, Yusho washed red bean, Shiri red, ape flying asthma and other wooden leaves were all stunned. We're not mistaken, are we? Cao Ya, can he actually fly? How dare he declare war on Orochimaru? Boom. Cao Ya didn't wait for Orochimaru to answer. He spoke harshly and his voice shook the ground for dozens of miles, and all the residents of Konoha heard him. Cao Ya. Who is that? Our upper ninja of Konoha. All Konoha residents looked at each other and then cheered. Sure enough, our wooden leaves will not fail. At first hearing of the Cao Ya declaration, prominent figures such as Zelaya, Hinata Higashi, Akito Dingzwa, Shanzhanghai, and Nara Kazuki were also surprised. This Shangren named Cao Ya is losing his heart and going crazy. He dares to take action against Orochimaru. Do we still need to bring Orochimaru to justice? Sensing the gazes of all parties and achieving his initial goal, Cao Ya didn't say a word and directly took action. Becoming a little golden man, he plummeted with a loud thud and punched Orochimaru. Damn it! Orochimaru's face sank. At this moment, he had no hands, could not form a seal, and many ninja techniques could not be used. Facing an upper ninja. No, it's not upper ninja. This Utagawa Cao Ya is stronger than the monkey flying teacher just now. Shadow level. The root members of Tuanzang. How could they? Orochimaru was puzzled. He and Tuanzang have a tacit understanding when launching the Kiba collapse plan this time. Why do the root members come forward? The most important thing is, why is this Utagawa Cao Ya so strong? End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Fire Shadow of the 5 Dynasties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Fire Shadow of the 5 Dynasties. Cao Ya obviously wouldn't answer to Shimaru's confusion. Inren stood up with the intention of blocking Cao Ya, completely using his mantis arm to block the car. Amidst the awe-inspiring gazes of all the Konoha ninjas, sand-hidden ninjas, and outer village ninjas, Cao Ya punched out with a terrifying punch, sweeping across a ravine that spread to the end of his sight. Okay. So scary. All the ninjas exclaimed in disbelief. Where did a wooden leaf emerge and possess such unimaginable power? Kakashi was also shocked. He didn't feel much chakra on Cao Ya's punch, as if Cao Ya had completely used his physical body to strike such a shocking punch. Kai's gaze was bright, like two large light bulbs. This is youth. My cultivation is not enough, starting from today, it will double. Kai Ri was full of blood and kicked the sand-hidden ninja away. Without his hands, Big Snake Maru could not threaten Cao Ya at all. He was captured by Cao Ya in just a few moves. Those Nin and Sha Nin finally lost their fighting spirit and surrendered one after another. Cao Ya, I remember you. Orochimaru extended his tongue and licked his lips, looking at Cao Ya's physical body with excitement. How did he cultivate this kind of physical body? At this moment, Wan Shi, the spiritual beast of Orochimaru, howled in dissatisfaction and demanded that Orochimaru provide it with food, otherwise it would directly take action. In the village of Kiba, even if most civilians hide, there are still many ninjas. With the power of 10,000 snakes, even the elite cannot withstand it. Kakashi, Asma, Red, and others had a fierce expression, as if facing a formidable enemy. What a fierce beast! But when Cao Yalong laughed, he flew up, closed his fist, exhaled, and suddenly punched. Boom! The earth is shaking and the mountains are shaking. One snake was instantly killed by Cao Ya, and a deep pit appeared in place, covering an area of over 100 meters. Zilai also arrived with other prominent figures in Kiba and witnessed this scene with his own eyes. The corners of his eyes twitched and he felt amazed. At this moment, there were still waves of fighting outside the wooden leaves. Deshimaru, your subordinates don't even know that you have been captured by me, do they? Cao Ya chuckled softly, and obediently led the situation in the field. Cao Yajun, I am very interested in your physical skills, said Orochimaru with a smile on his face, seemingly not troubled by the current situation. Not to mention anything else, Orochimaru's life-saving ability is a bit full. Orochimaru. Zilai also had a complex gaze. Zelaya, the old man is dead. Are you going to kill me? Orochimaru asked softly. Zilai is also silent. Orochimaru didn't seem to expect an answer either, he just smiled when he saw it. At this point, the root members also appeared, under the guidance of Cao Ya, to rescue the villagers and show a friendly side as much as possible. A group of Konoha ninjas felt a bit dazed. Did you have illusions in the group? Root members, when did they become so compassionate? Cao Ya said calmly, the root is also a member of the wood leaf, and has been promised by 3 generations. Everyone remained silent and did not answer. They seemed to understand Cao Ya's plan. Cao Ya wants to reverse the situation where the roots are buried underground, appearing in the sunlight, even more openly than in the dark. But that's the power of Hokage. Cao Ya. What does he want to do? Don't you go rescue the little ones? Cao Ya didn't understand the thoughts of these people and was too lazy to do so. He mastered the power of the roots. With 3 generations and Tuanzang dead and no leader, he made great achievements and couldn't be the Hokage. It's okay to be the acting Hokage, right? Underhanded control over daimyo, still worried about not being able to get rid of the word agent. Daiming is an ordinary person who controls the politics and economy of the fire country, and Cao Ya has long been tired of it. If he becomes a fire shadow, he will completely control the entire fire country. Big name. Go play with the mud. If it doesn't have long eyes, it will disappear directly. Led by Aikido Dingzwa, Yamanaka Haichi, and Hinata, they supported the younger generation such as Naruto Vortex, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Lee Locke, Hinata Ningji, Tian, and Hinata, while also capturing the subordinates of Orochimaru. Zilai is temporarily unwilling to face Orochimaru and supports him together. Seeing Cao Ya commanding disaster relief, Nara Deer's long and deep eyes shine, Cao Ya. Do you want to be a fire shadow? Cao Ya's attitude was not concealed at all, not only Nara Lugio, but also Kakashi, Asma and others were equally aware. Only Kai asked Cao Ya, what kind of body technique are you using? Everyone quietly perks up their ears. Cao Ya suddenly rose up and descended from the sky, capturing the great snake Maru and exploding 10,000 snakes, demonstrating his formidable combat prowess. Unfortunately, Cao Ya hardly used chakra much. Excluding ninjutsu and hallucination, it can only be considered physical art. Moreover, Cao Ya's combat style is characterized by a grand opening and closing, unparalleled dominance. Apart from physical skills, it is impossible for him to use any other techniques. But what kind of physical surgery is it? Kong Kong Bu 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 Shin Gong. Cao Ya looked up slightly, calmly looking at the horizon, and answered very forcefully. The movie, Vajra's immortal skill. Everyone choose, this is a name they have never heard of before. Is it a body technique created by Cao Ya himself? In the realm of ninja, many ninjas are creating their own ninjutsu, illusion, or body art. One more Cao Ya, it seems like that. A ghost. Nima, this Vajra immortal skill may not be inferior to the 8 gates of Duanjia formation, right? Showcasing military force, everyone did not reject Cao Ya's desire for the fire shadow. A strong ninja, who hasn't thought of Hokage. However, whether Cao Ya can become a Huiying or not depends on the distribution of benefits. The situation in Mai is temporarily under the control of Cao Ya. 2 advisors, Shun Xiaochun and Mido Menyan, ran out with intentions to oppose, but 3 generations died in battle, and Tuanzang also died. Despite Cao Ya demonstrating his immense strength, they remained silent for the time being, neither agreeing or opposing. For the trial of Orochimaru and his followers, as well as the trial of Saren, Cao Ya did not wait for the officials of the Fire Kingdom to come and quickly cut off the chaos. The next day, a trial conference was held. Those who commit heinous crimes, such as Sha Ren and Yin Ren, will be directly executed. Those who commit milder crimes will be allowed to pay ransom and redeem the ninjas in Shayin village and Yin Ren village. The people of Shayin village are equally powerful and I love Luo, and it is the highest ransom. The 1000-generation mother. Law in charge of Shayin village, no matter how painful, has to cut off her flesh for the future of Shayin village. In the dark, Shayin village harbors a lot of grievances towards the 4th-generation Fengying Luo Sha. Tang Fengying, was someone assassinated? Playing tricks with the tiger, Luo Sha was eventually swallowed by the tiger, which made some people laugh their teeth out. Shayin village's face was directly pulled to the ground by Orochimaru, and he even stomped heavily. Orochimaru was sentenced to life imprisonment, which should have been the death penalty. However, it is believed that Orochimaru has strong scientific research abilities and can contribute to Muba. He was once a hero of Muba and was allowed to compromise his achievements. Due to Sanin's identity, the villagers of Kiba have complex emotions and have no objection to this judgment. Cao Ya took the time to visit the capital city of the Fire Kingdom, took control of Daming, and was directly appointed as the 5th-generation Hokage. There are some opposing voices in the village. But Cao Ya was already prepared and instructed the root members in advance to spread various messages and create momentum for him. The death of Tuanzang is classified as a betrayal of the village. With the addition of the plan to quell the collapse of Kiba in Orochimaru, the flesh of Shayin village and Inren village was cut, which greatly boosted the morale of Kiba village at this critical moment. So the residents of Kiba didn't have much opposition. Cao Ya successfully succeeded the 5th-generation Hokage. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Excellent Hokage, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Excellent Hokage. Cao Ya did not personally take action against that small part of the opposition, but only instructed the root members to spread the black material of those opponents. For example, 2 consultants, Shunlai Koharu and Mito Menyen, sitting in their current positions, can have the status of a consultant with a wooden leaf, but their buttocks are not clean. Cao Ya's black material was in the hands of Tuanzang and Zhenzhen. When Tuanzang died, he took over the root and naturally eliminated various black materials from the root first. He didn't kill them all, he gave them appropriate respect. It depends on whether those people are willing to accept it. If you are willing to accept everyone's happiness, but if you are not willing, Cao Ya will be going to die. With a carrot and a big stick, the group quickly calmed down. Cao Ya actually directly controlled the real power of Mu Yi. Of course, the root force, which was completely obedient to Cao Ya, made great contributions during this period. Tuanzang has been operating for decades and has a strong base power, not inferior to the dark side directly under Hokage. At the same time, the envoy of the Fire Kingdom brought a decree from the daimyo, agreeing to allow Cao Ya to succeed as the fifth Hokage. This is one step that completely dispels the doubts of the Konoha ninja. Even the daimyo has agreed, why should we oppose it? Cao Ya secured the position of Huiying. Zilai, are you leaving my? Cao Ya was stunned for a moment. Zilai also belonged to the majority who disagreed and did not object to him becoming Huiying. Zilai nodded and chuckled, I'm planning to take Naruto on a trip and also look for Tsunade. Okay, I wish you all the best. Cao Ya watched as he came and went. At this moment, Konoha does not need this top-level combat power from Zilai. 3 years later, let's talk about the spread of the strong wind. Research Department. Has there been any progress in the study of the first generation of Mu Dun, de Shiwan? Cao Ya asked. The Research Department is a newly established department by Cao Ya, personally named by de Shiwan, with de Shiwan serving as the chief scientist. His former subordinates, including pharmacist Do, Jun Malu, Chongwu, Xian Wuxiang Yan, and Gui Deng Shuiyu, are still managed by de Shiwan and listed under the name of the Research Department. Cao Ya decided to readjust the departmental structure of Mu Yi, which used to be too cumbersome and rudimentary. I have studied before that the rejection reaction was too strong, and only one baby survived. Orochimaru licked his tongue and said, as long as you allow me to experiment with a human body. Cao Ya interrupted, stop it. Mu Dun is just a research project of the Scientific Research Department. If anyone is willing to voluntarily dedicate themselves, then I will not interfere, but I will never allow you to act secretly. Don't touch my taboos. Scientific research sometimes requires various human bodies, which is inevitable. Cao Ya directly announced the research of the Scientific Research Department to Mu Yi. It was explicitly stipulated that villagers were allowed to dedicate themselves to scientific research, but no forced behavior was allowed. After all, some of the research conducted by the Scientific Research Department, although dangerous, has been successful and indeed beneficial to the experimental individuals. It depends on individual choices. Oh, women's kindness. Orochimaru sneered, did that bastard leave the village since then? I went to find Gangsho, Cao Ya replied. Orochimaru pursed his lips, but didn't say much. By the way, how is agricultural research going? Cao Ya changed the topic. Simple. Big Snake Pill couldn't help laughing, and roast, this kind of research is too low. Level. It can be done easily. Cao Ya is non-committal. Food is the top priority for the people, and the application of ninjutsu in agriculture can greatly develop agriculture. At the same time, research departments for ninjutsu, hallucination, and physical arts have also been established. The head of the physical surgery department is Hinata Higashi, and the deputy head is Might Kai. Kai has strong strength, but there is no one behind him, and his personality is not suitable for managing a department. Cao Ya also needs to consider the opinions of the Hinata family, so he was appointed as the minister of Hinata football. The head of the ninjutsu department is actually Kakashi, known as the copy ninja, which indicates Kakashi's extensive understanding of ninjutsu, which is just right. In the magic department, there are 2 or 3 big cats and 2 small cats, the Twilight Red, and the Pummeled Horse family. Who said Yuzhibo was exterminated? Cao Ya personally inquired about the textbooks and curriculum arrangements of the ninja school, revised them, taught various ninjutsu techniques, and even taught methods of cracking them. This sparked opposition from many ninjas, but at this time, Cao Ya held great power and attracted too many people, so the opponents did not stir up a wave. All civilian ninjas agree with this strategy. Some ninjas of the ninja tribe also do not oppose it. In Cao Ya's view, when it comes to A.level or S.level ninjutsu, it's important to gather people to study and identify the flaws. Even a branch of the ninjutsu department, the Blood Inheritance Limit Department, received orders from Cao Ya to quietly study the blood inheritance limit of other ninjutsu villages. Even including bloodstain elimination. Chen done. The implementation of a series of policies has made everyone understand that the future of Kiba will embark on an unprecedented trajectory. A beautiful track. The wooden leaves are flourishing. Cao Ya, the fiery figure, is deeply loved by all the villagers. However, Cao Ya knew that if the Shao organization did not resolve it for a day, and other ninja villages and countries did not resolve it, the ninja world would not be able to achieve true peace. Not to mention the bright night of the big barrel wood in the moon, and a bunch of big barrel wood in the depths of the universe. Those are all 6 levels. The worst is also super shadow level. The task is heavy and the road is long. Cao Ya sighed lightly. Kakashi, Might-Kai, Yusho Zaihongdu, Zirihong, and others looked at Cao Ya. They were Cao Ya's friends and subordinates, highly valued and highly valued. During this period of time, they saw the changes in Mu Ye's eyes and believed from the bottom of their hearts that it was the right decision for Cao Adam to ascend to the Hokage. Cao Ya will lead Mu Ye to climb to the top of the ninja realm. They don't understand why Cao Ya has been constantly worried, often looking at the sky and sighing. Well, we must work overtime and strive to share the pressure of the 5th generation. My belongs to everyone. All the pressure cannot be piled on the shoulders of the 5th generation alone. They exchanged a glance and nodded silently. Cao Ya blinked, feeling a bit inexplicable. Night. Cao Ya entered the system space. There are no new members this time, there are still 8 Cao Ya. After sharing their memories, the 7 Cao Ya looked at the Naruto Cao Ya in a new light. Crouching trough, awesome. Is that all you have to do with the reform of Mu Ye? Naruto Cao Ya coughed lightly and smiled, low key. 7 Cao Ya immediately looked down upon. It's all Cao Ya, who doesn't know who. Stop pretending. Cao Ya sighed and said, in my place, there is no way to reform. All kinds of hidden big shots are too tricky. There is still a group of big shots watching in the sky, it's like seeing a ghost. He feels mentally tired. When did you break the 8th level of the realm? Cao Ya asked, the One World Sovereign. Wait a little longer, Cao Ya, the global high martial arts expert, tugged at his hair and said, we have to go into the cave, take out a group of cave warriors, and break through the 8th level ahead of time. This won't have any effect. Oldine forces. Laughing in the Jianghu, Cao Ya roast. Cao Ya rolled his eyes and said, if I were in a low martial world like Xiao Jianghu, I would act with dignity. In the world of global high martial arts, various old and evil forces emerge endlessly. If you don't pay attention, you don't know how to die. End of this chapter.